Hey guys, it's Cannon here. What's up? So, Conor Benn test positive for steroids a day before the Chris Eubank fight and is possibly facing a 4-year ban. Like, what? Yo, that's crazy. That is mad crazy. The worst part is that apparently he was using a woman's fertility drug, which can potentially be, rumored to it can be used to improve substances. Along with this as well, Vada is the one that caught something in the system. UCAD was not, and UCAD is, stands for the United Kingdom Drug and Doping Agency, and Vada is just like national and like worldwide, if you know what I mean, right? This whole entire fight, now that I think about it, this whole entire fight right here is just a disaster waiting to happen. We're just gonna ignore how they try to make a 147 pounder who seemed oversized for that weight in the first. Like I would never consider like Conor Benn to be a big 147 pounder. I would consider him to be one of the smaller ones, going against a natural 160 to 168 pounder who has an age advantage and especially experience. Like this fight is just like, this fight was too ridiculous to actually happen, in my opinion. I think if it did happen, Conor Benn would have won. You know why? I say Conor Benn would have potentially won that fight? For one simple reason. Well, actually, I don't really have one necessarily, but I have two reasons. Number one, this fight is too ridiculous. Number two, Conor Benn is not that good, right? He's not that good yet, He is as good as Chris Eubank in certain way, like okay, not as good, right? But he is decent. He's decent enough right now, and he's starting to make significant improvements in his boxing style. But I just think that something crazy has to happen in this fight in order for him to even get a victory in the first place. Like, I just think that this fight would have been too ridiculous for it to just be a one-sided affair. I would assume that Chris Eubank would somehow fold and let Conor Benn just take the victory over him so that he retires. And as for Chris Eubank Jr.'s father, man, his dad did not want him to fight at all. His father did not want him to fight. He was like, my other son died. I don't want my kid to fight. And I understand that perspective, but all that really does is help market the fight a little bit more because it raises more tension. He wasn't even going to help promote the fight. Nigel Benn was all up for it, though. He's like, you go, son. You go, son. You go, son. And I respect him for that. It's clear that Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank have two different perspectives on the situation. Chris Eubank Jr. is concerned that his son is going to drain himself to death and literally die in a fight. So, yeah. Speaking of weight draining, they were like, Eubank was being drained to 157 pounds, which is a weight that he's never even went to before in his entire career. You know how typically when fighters first start, they're typically at a lower weight class? No, Eubank was at a higher weight class. He was at a higher weight. He was at 164 pounds. Then he went down to 160. Then for a little bit, he was at 168. And that's the trajectory of his career, and that's like what happened. My prediction for this actual fight was, of course, Conor Benn, but it's not even it's not even an of course. That's so ridiculous. Like, what? Conor Benn is so small. He's so small compared to Chris. But it was, of course, simply for betting odds. I'll put like loads of money on Conor Benn to see if he wins, and I get a lot of money because he scores like a crazy upset on such a bigger guy. But aside from that, though, Conor Benn with the steroid stuff is not that unbelievable, in my opinion, actually. I think it's pretty believable. Like, what happened in this earlier part of his career? Yeah. He was struggling against Cedric Paynaud, I think that's his name, and that's how you pronounce it. Well, he got dropped twice in that first round. He got dropped, and he was almost going life and death in there. But he still won it by a decision, but he was like basically going like life and death in that match. Just for him to make significant improvements these recent years and completely dominate Chris Algieri. Keep in mind, that's a very impressive accomplishment. Now, I understand Chris Algieri hadn't fought since like Consistently since like 2016, honestly. He had not fought that consistently since then. He for most of his career was not fighting that active. But even despite that, Conor Benn is still a former world champion. You know, he's still a former world champion. He still beat Ruslan Provodnikov. Now, this was a different Chris Algieri, mind you. Okay, but I mean, it's not. He wasn't washed up to the point where the essence of him wasn't there. Like, he wasn't. What's like an example of a fighter who completely lost it? Miguel Berchelt. Miguel Berchelt is an example of a fighter who completely, after one fight, lost everything. And it was ridiculous just watching him fight. He went against, what's that guy's name? He fought Shakur Stevenson, and he got dominated by Stevenson. Okay, I need to find him. Hold on. Jeremiah Nakathila. He went against Jeremiah Nakathila and got destroyed, bro. He got like completely dominated. Like it was not. Oh my gosh, bro. That was a vicious fight right there. Like Jeremiah Nakathila was putting the beats on him. It was bad. This matchup was made for what you think, money, and to support the zone for pay-per-view. This fight was never morally right in the first place. You're putting someone who's so small against someone who's so big. The only case and scenario where I'd pick the bigger or the smaller fighter against the bigger fighter, actually, without just saying that this is too ridiculous and that's why I'm picking the other person, is when they have attributes that I notice. If, like, for instance, right, if you give me a fighter, if you give me a boxer, if you give me an opponent who is dependent on bullying his fighters and using his size in his current division, if he moves up, he's not going to be successful. Nonito Donaire, for example. But if you have a fighter who knows how to box, who can utilize his movement, and who has the power to keep bigger opponents off of him, and he has enough power in that division as well, he's going to have success moving up. Also, he should be kind of big. If he's like too small, if he's too small, he might get like roughed up, despite him having power. Being too small was Manny Pacquiao's disadvantage when he fought Jeff Horn, so that's the only example that I could think of. Eddie Hearn decided to cancel this fight with that one other guy who has a weird smile. I'm pretty sure that was him, right? That one other guy who has a really animated witch warlock smile for some apparent reason. And he said it was the right thing to do. He said it was the right thing. Well, the fight's rumored to be postponed, for that matter, due to this entire situation. And Conor Benn is potentially serving 4 years ban. Like, that's crazy. That's so... No, bro. No way. He was caught with one substance. That's like... man, if they're going to do that, no way they're going to give him 4 years. If they give him 4 years... Canelo should have gotten 4 years. If they give him 4 years, Dillian White should have gotten 4 years. If they're gonna give him 4 years, everybody should have gotten the Jarrell Big Baby Miller treatment. Like, come on, man. This is some whack news, honestly. It is disappointing that this happened. I was looking forward to this fight. I really wanted to see what Conor Benn was gonna do against a bigger fighter who was quicker than him, who was faster, who was stronger, I think, and who had more physicality. I wonder if he was going to even be able to mess with them in any sort of way, but I guess we cannot see that no more. Well, all right. Thank you guys for watching. Goodbye.